to Living from the Heart. I am your host, Tina Thrussell, co founder of Best You Can Be and messenger of the Shin, the Way of the Heart. The Way of the Heart is just that, living from your heart with love, kindness, and compassion for yourself first, so that you're able to give from that overflow. And I am delighted to have as a guest today a woman who does live from her heart and who definitely gives from her overflow, Sandra Beck. Sandra is the founder of Beck Media and is passionate, absolutely passionate about helping people realize their dreams with the power of the internet. And I never would have imagined myself having what I might have called a techno geek on my show, but I absolutely love the heart of this woman and her giving nature. And I knew when we chatted that she had to be on this show. So just before I bring her on screen, I'm going to invite you, if you haven't already, to receive a complimentary subscription to Heart and Mind Matters. This is an e-zine with an inspirational article, YouTube video, quote of the week that goes out every other Tuesday morning. You can access that by entering your name and email at bestyoucanbe.ca. That's BEST, the letter U, CAN, the letter B.ca. We also invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Best You Can Be. Same spelling, BEST space letter U space CAN space letter B. Now, without further ado, I would love to introduce you to Sandra Beck.
Hi, Tina.
Hi, Sandra. Thank you for joining us on the show here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
I know that you really are passionate about helping people. My goodness, and you're a woman who's as busy, if not busier than I am, leading a very, very full schedule. You host several podcasts, and um, there are a lot of things you do, but the common denominator behind all of that is what? What
I would
is your
say, empowerment, helping people to take a step forward and go for their dreams. Because I think most people just need a little push out of the nest and then they can fly.
Yeah, that's true. Support is really important to move forward in realizing our dreams.
hmm
And I know that you are supportive to a lot of people in a lot of different ways. And what is it about technology? How is that your, I'm saying primary way of, but is it really your primary way of being in service to the world?
Well, it's a tool, and it's a really good tool because for the first time in history, we have a level playing field between large corporations, large special interest groups with big funding, and somebody like me who's a single mom raising 2 kids but has something to say. And it turns out most of the people in my sphere of influence had something to say. And instead of waiting for the big national whatevers or international whatevers to do, we can use technology to bring those voices to light. And that's where I think it's a level playing field. Yes, sponsors have more money, but after working for Disney and CBS and seeing what they do and how they do it, I realized we can do this on a small scale and bring it in affordable ways to companies, to special interest groups, and people who don't ever care to be a big whatever.
That's really neat. The fact that, like you say, it's a level playing field,
Yep.
and you as a single mom who has something important to say, and Disney can have an equal playing field out there. So
And there's
how
room for both.
sorry?
There's room for both. That's the thing about the internet. Like, on a grand scale, it's infinite. It's infinite what it can provide. It's infinite what it can do. We have no limits today. So if you put a podcast up and let's say you're in Alberta, Canada, somebody in Ethiopia, somebody in Taiwan, somebody in the United States can listen to that. And that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, we really have global reach. The world is getting smaller and smaller with the use of technology.
Yes.
And in that making the world smaller, there's the potential to bring us closer together,
Mhm.
to focus more on what's similar about us than our differences.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it also allows people to maximize certain situations. When I first formed my corporation, which is called Motherhood Incorporated, it was designed to employ moms to work from home in the tech field instead of outsourcing overseas, nothing wrong with that, but we can home source and use a lot of our moms who are struggling with healthcare, with elder care, with childcare issues. We have this whole population of women that can contribute 2 to 20 hours a week in their specialty. So my company initially brought all those women together, but what it did, especially if you're a mom and you have 2 kids on the spectrum, like I have a JD who went to law school. She can support lawyers for 5, 7, 10 hours a week, but she can't go sit in an office. Technology allows us to participate in ways when our bodies or our life circumstances can't.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
Um, that means that this can be extended. I love the fact that you started with moms because, of course, that's close to home.
Sure.
That's who you are, single
Right.
mom, doing your best to keep food on the table for your kids and keep
Mhm.
life moving smoothly. And you roll that out there, but I see the potential for people with disabilities and all sorts of circumstances.
Well, my company got a reputation in the beginning of being the hard luck company. If you had hard luck, you came to work for me. If you were in a wheelchair, if you had something that wouldn't allow you to work in a traditional office, a traditional workday, you would come to me and I would help find work. And that's because I needed that. Both of my kids were premature. Both of my kids had health issues. I found myself with a 3-month-old and a 2.5-year-old being suddenly single when my ex-husband walked out on everything, the finances, you name it. And then my mom was dying of cancer. I mean, it sounds like a terrible Lifetime movie, but it was my truth at the time. And so I had to do something quick, Tina, and technology allowed me to get my kids where they needed to go to care for them because in Southern California, we're not exactly overflowing with places to take infants and toddlers. And if they would take it, I couldn't afford it.
Mm,
So I
yeah.
needed to be home and I needed to work from home.
Wow. That's motivation and drive. I mean, you needed to do something, and instead of wallowing in it, you just took it into your own hands.
There was no time to wallow.
Wow. And then from there, once you were helping yourself, you start to help others. And
And there was economic gain, to be fair. Like, yes, I wanted to help a lot of my friends who were in similar circumstances because you meet the same moms. You go to the gym and work in the shower area on your computer so you can use for childcare because it's only a couple dollars, and you're in there on the phone working, you're in there with your computer in the middle of the gym locker room, and you see a couple other moms doing the same thing, and you're like, "You're a single mom? Yes. Are you a single mom? Isn't the childcare great here?" "Yes, it is." Because you could get 2 hours of work done while your kids are in the gym play area. And I never left the facility. I didn't step on a treadmill, but I would sit in the gym locker room with my computer.
wow.
So you meet all these other moms struggling with the same things, and some of them had elder care, some had childcare, some had their own disabilities. And so we can all be productive, and that's what I think is the beauty and magic of technology. It allows you to become what you'd like to become and transcend physical limitation.
Mm, that is beautiful. And you completely have turned my
Mm,
view. One of the posts when I was inviting people was that you shifted my paradigm, and you really did. I've sort of been an anti-technology person for a long time because I felt that it separated people, that people were, spending time with their phones instead of with their loved ones. But as you said, it's a tool, and when that
mm.
tool is used in the right way, it actually expands horizons, opens doors, brings greater possibility and potential into people's lives.
It does. It does. And, when you talk about creating relationships and friendships, I have digital friendship of people I've never met. Women who have worked for me from around the world. I employ in Canada, the UK, Israel, and Australia. And I have one gal that's worked with me for 13 years. We've never met because we're surrounded or we're separated by an ocean. We talk every couple of days. I know so much about her kids, her husband, her family. She knows all about mine. We have never met. And I can't believe that I've never seen her in person, hugged her, or touched her. And we've worked for over a decade, longer than most marriages.
Wow, that's really something. That's pretty neat.
Well, look at you and me. We could become great friends over the next 20 years. Maybe I get to Canada, maybe you get to the States, and we meet, or maybe not. But that's why this technology is so fabulous. When used in the right hands, it becomes a superpower for connection and communication.
I love it. A superpower for connection and communication. That's cool. That's cool. So how is it that you bring heart into all of this? How did it not become just a tool?
Well, I think it amplifies what you are inside, is what I find. So if your heart is pained or stressed, that's what's going to present in a louder way. And in my heart, at the end of the day, I believe people are good. I believe we're put on this planet to serve. And I believe that we can together make a difference. As hokey dokey as that sounds, those are my beliefs. And in alignment with my values, what produces out of me with the help of all the people that make these things possible, I hire for values first. I hire for heart first. If you care about what you're doing, if you care about the people around you, we're going to make a pretty good team, and our products are going to have heart.
That's cool. So it makes me curious. What are your products and what are your services? How is it that people can access this potentiality
Mhm.
to bring their dreams to life? Like,
Well, generally, I work from word of mouth, and a client will come to me either from some large companies that I'm in alignment with, some big book publishing companies might bring me an offer and say, okay, develop a brand, I have a master's in business from Northwestern, so I kind of do all that design work. And then my team executes it. And that can be in the form of podcast or simulcast, which is a video podcast. You can have a book, a website, you can have all these different media, just media, just different ways to get your message out. But you have to be in alignment if you're going to make a product like this with your current value system, identifying it, and then identifying it with your readers, watchers, listeners. And those things take a little bit of finessing, they take some time. So I can't carry a lot of clients at once, I won't, I'm not a mill. And, the most important thing that I do is I amplify. So when my friend's son died of cancer at 4 years old, brain cancer,
mm,
he was friends with my little son. They were in the same preschool. Janet came to me and said, I want to talk to people about childhood cancer. I want to talk about funding. I want to talk about legislation. So we put together a very simple show called Childhood Cancer Talk Radio. Very simple words that index in the search engines and can be found. And we've been changing legislation ever since, getting bills passed. My Military Mom Talk Radio show formed out of friends who called me from a military base here in the US 15 years ago wanting to know what this post-traumatic stress thing was. Why were their husbands coming home from Iraq and Afghanistan and, crying in their sleep? One of them choked her in her sleep. These are good men. And they're not abusers, but you take a healthy person, put them in an unhealthy environment, such as a war, people shooting at you shooting at people, things are going to happen. And because there was no nothing in place in those days. There was a need. So we created Military Mom Talk Radio, and we spun off 13 other shows from these two initial shows that all provide a need. They provide empowerment, education, comfort, validation, support, all from experts. And it's me or my co-host or my host interviewing people who know more than we do. It's a
Wow.
really simple model. It's like, you know how Larry King interviews stars to get the best out of them? My hosts are like Larry King, but for their industry. So if you're military, if you're spiritual, if you're business or you're medical, you find the best people you can to talk about the topics that you're interested in.
Really neat. Like
Yeah,
you said, simple formula, but there are a lot of people who have expertise in certain areas.
right.
Bring them all together in one place, and it's an incredible resource for people.
Yeah. And the
Wow.
great thing is everything's topical, so you don't have to listen every week. So if you go and you look down a list of shows, I might have, 300 shows on a channel, and you can find something that resonates with whatever you're going through because everything comes down to these basic human needs.
Wow. That's really neat. Needs and values,
Mhm.
matching them up. That's living from your heart, right? When we live by our values, when we live in alignment with what we
Mhm,
believe in, and we serve from that place of
mhm,
serving from what we believe in and what we value, then life becomes easier and it flows more readily, don't you
mhm.
find?
Oh, absolutely, and our paths are clear. If somebody comes on our show and we interview them and the host comes to me or I see it and I go, "Wow, this person is not in alignment," we just kill the show.
Hmm.
I've killed a bunch in my day for parenting experts that had one child and put that child in home care with a tutor, trying to advise families, player families, who might have 4, 5, 6 children, and the mom's alone most of the time because the fireman leaves for 4 days at a time. And when I see that inconsistency that this person, who I'm not gonna name, but she's a very well-known international success, who are you to advise my mom who are you and me, fireman wives, police wives, you may have all this information that works for you because you have a nanny, you have a housekeeper, you have a private tutor, and your child is homeschooled. You're not helping me with my 9 loads of laundry, my kids killing each other, and you're telling me to get into this, spiritual moment. I do believe our basic needs need to be met, Tina, before most of us can really delve into our spiritual side. Because you could not get over the fear. I couldn't. As a single mom, people would tell me, "Oh, well, you need to attend to this, you need to get that, you need to get here." Well, I need to get food on the table first because the fear eclipsed everything for me. And that's what I think resonates with me with most of my shows. There's an element of fear that we can abate by education, by understanding, by validation, by comfort, by support. We calm the spirit down or we calm the being down so the spirit can shine through.
That's beautiful. Yes, as long as people are living in fear, they
Right,
cannot possibly be living from their heart. They
right,
cannot possibly be in a spiritual
right.
space. Um, yeah, people have to feel safe and secure.
Mhm.
And ironically, when you have a spiritual base, you tend to feel more safe and secure
Sure.
because you believe in that greater power, that everything is happening for a reason, that things that happen are happening for you, not to you. And yet, if the fear is so strong that you can't touch that,
Right.
it's pointless. So I
And
can
it's a
understand.
chicken and the egg thing, don't you think? It's which came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, over my lifetime, the 50 years I've walked this planet, I've had great peace from my spiritual practice, and we use the word spiritual, whatever word you want in there, It doesn't have to be that one, but you get my point. And then there's times where I'm so absolutely riddled with fear, Like when my mother was dying, even though all of my belief systems said she will be better, she's not really leaving, she's just leaving this old body, sitting there with my mom holding her hand, I was absolutely convulsed with fear.
Mm,
How was I gonna move forward without my mom? Because after my husband left, she became my everything. Who am I gonna
mm,
turn to? Now, on a spiritual level, I can turn to God or the universe or whatever you want, but in that moment, it was that tug of war between fear and belief, fear and fear won a lot of times, especially if I was tired and worn out, which I really was in those days.
mm. So how did you come through all of that? What was it that pulled you through?
Okay, you really wanna know the truth 'cause you're gonna laugh. Um, there was this little Lego Ninjago movie. Ninjagos, these little, like, karate figurines, and my kids love these little movies, and this 2 o'clock in the morning, I'm up with my kid who had an earache. I'm so tired, Tina. I mean, just the typical single mom, hagged out, exhausted, holding this kid with an earache, turn on the TV to try to take his mind off his earache because there's nothing I can do. I got another kid in the bed. I can't go to urgent care because I don't have any childcare. We just make the best of it. And this little Lego figurine comes across the screen, and he's got this little, like, kind of Japanese style hat and a kimono on. And he says to the Ninjago figurine, "What can you do today to get to where you want to be?" And I stopped that video in the middle of the night. This we're going back 12, 13 years. And I swear it was a message for me. I rolled the those days we were using a DVD, so I rolled the DVD back and I hear, "What can I do today to get me to where I want to be?" And that is still up on my cabinet right here. I can pull it down, show it to you. I wrote it on a Post-it.
Oh, look at that.
Been up there 12 years, 13 years, because when you're in crisis, you can't do massive things every day and you beat yourself up for it. So I thought, what can I do today to get me to where I wanna be? I can get up. I can do this, and if I don't do that, I'm not a bad person, I'm not a failure, I'm not a loser. I succeeded in doing this. And so it was really just a collection of little tiny steps that got me today to where I want to be, which is financially stable, which is making a difference and having a voice.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, out of a movie, a little baby movie.
Yeah, that's absolute proof that there is that source there, right? Whatever you call it, God, the universe, spirit, great spirit, whatever, it's there and it's always got our back.
Yep.
And it will speak to us in the most unexpected ways.
But you'll hear it, like, that's the thing, Tina. I must have watched 1,000 Dora the Explorers, 1,500 Thomas the Trains. We get this Lego series, it's in the middle of the night. Why that one moment? Why that one character? Why do I still hear it clearly in my head? I can put my hands, "What can you do today to get to where you want to be?" Like, it's never left me.
Wow.
So when I'm down, when I'm tired, right now I'm going through cancer treatment, so I get really tired, and I just go, "What can I do today?" And then I stop, Tina, because that's enough.
Mm, that's beautiful. That's a big message. Did everyone hear that? What can I do today to get to where I want to be? Do it and stop.
That's
Just
right.
do that one thing and stop. Take time to rest. Take time to celebrate that you got that done,
Right.
that you had that success. Taking those little moments to stop. That's what mindfulness is all about. That's what changed my life and brought me back from the brink of adrenal fatigue and severe bedridden kind of
Yeah.
can't move, can't be motivated to live life. Just to be present to this moment and know that right now, right here, I'm okay. I'm okay. Everything's okay. Everything in my life may not be great, but right
Yeah.
here, right now, it's okay.
Mhm.
and to
Well,
remember to
there's
keep.
something, Tina, don't you think there's always something to be thankful for?
Mm,
Like you take a test, think of a kid, take a test and you get an 85. Are you focused on the 15 points you missed, or are you focusing on the 85 points you earned? It's your choice.
it absolutely is a choice. And I spent a good chunk of my life focusing on the 15% I missed because I was taught to be a huge overachiever, success, and what I accomplished were my measure of my worth. And that can be a really brutal place to live from.
Yes. And a very natural place. I've had many brain experts on my shows that say our brain naturally goes to the negative. Think about a smile or a frown. It takes more muscles to what is it? Takes more muscles to smile than to frown. So we go to the negative. So we have to make that conscious choice to choose the positive. But I'll tell you, when you choose the positive, that's where the magic happens.
Absolutely. That's when the magic happens. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I used to be afraid of my mailbox because my mailbox always carried disconnection bills, pay this bill or you're going to, it was constant threat, constant threat. And as funny as it sounds, I had post-traumatic stress with my mailbox. I avoided my mail, and then it got worse. You know what I mean? You avoid the bills keep piling up. They cut off my water at one point, and the kids are like, "Wow, mom, we don't have any water." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, there must be a main break somewhere." I figure out, like, because I didn't want them to worry. I didn't, they understood. Um, but the more I focused on I couldn't pay my bills, I can't do this, the more I couldn't. And then I took a simple technique from a prosperity coach that I listened to, and I sat down with a piece of paper, nothing special, nothing fancy, picked up a pen, again, no fancy journal, no fancy anything, and I wrote, "I have more money than I can spend. I pay my bills with ease." And I wrote that 25 times a day, 100 times a day. I didn't have work at the time, so I was so stressed out. I pay my bills with ease. 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 Now when I write my check, because I can write a year's worth of bills off at a time. I prepay my gas bill. I prepay my electric bill. I prepay my mortgage for 12 months in Southern California.
Wow.
And because I have so much trauma with billing. But when I write those checks out, I pay my bills with ease. I pay my bills with ease. And I actually train myself kind of like a human monkey to think differently. And the only way I could do it was write it over and over on a piece of paper because I remember how I learned to spell. What did you do? You took the word and you wrote it over and over and over till you learned it. So I thought, what if Marilyn Jeanette, Flourishing Prosperity is the lady I learned it from. What if I wrote, I pay my bills with ease. I have more money than I can spend. Money flows easily to me. What if I changed my thinking using a simple third grade technique of learning to spell? Worked for me, might work for you. And it's free and easy, but you have to be consistent.
Brilliant, brilliant advice. Got that. If our viewers get nothing else, take that simple step. What do you want to see in your life? Focus on that. Keep writing it over and over and over until it becomes a subconscious belief that that
Yeah.
is true.
Yeah, because then you start making different choices during the day. You don't even realize it. You know, Before that, I was so afraid to call people back. When somebody walks out on your life and your life collapses, you go through a death and a foreclosure and all the ugly things that happen in that situation. You don't exactly wake up every day, Tina, and go, "Yay, I'm going to start great. I'm going to build a company. Look at me. I'm going to be the voice of nations." No, you crawl out of bed going, "How am I going to get through the next 5 minutes? My kids are gonna know I'm a loser." Like, that was what I thought in the morning. I better make breakfast so they know I can do something on this planet. Now this is a highly educated woman who's had great career, a great education, but that's where I got to, Tina. My thoughts actually got to the point where I better make breakfast so my kids don't think I'm a loser.
Wow.
Because
Yes.
our brains, our minds, our thoughts, our everything, they create our reality. So sometimes we need to erase it in our heads or rewrite it or reform it. And pen and paper, man, just sit down and write it out.
That is beautiful. And I've heard that from many, many teachers, many of them prosperity teachers, actually. And so there's something to this when you hear this from many sources, and then we hear from someone like yourself that says, I did it and it worked. It's an indication that it works.
Yeah, and I
So,
thought it was the dumbest thing ever, I'll be honest. I mean, when I first read her book, and I really liked her because I was interviewing her, I'm like, "This is so dumb. It cannot be that easy that you just sit down, make a sentence, write it out 30 days, 25 times a day for 30 days." I'm like, the biggest skeptic. And now here I am preaching the same thing. And what I like about it, Tina, you can do it anywhere. You can do it on a hotel napkin. You can do it on a receipt. You can write it. You don't have to write it all at once. You can write 5 times, take a break, go do some laundry, come back, write 5 more. Everybody can get a pen and paper.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I don't think it works as well on the computer because I started typing it with really bad handwriting, and I don't write with a pen very much, so my hand was weak. You know what I mean? To write a sentence out 25 times was a big deal. My hand was tired, so I'm like, I'll just sit down and type it." But I think there's something with the neural connections and the things you need to do with the simple pen and paper. It goes back, whatever, 10,000 years when we were first took our charcoal to a stone. There's
Yes.
something elemental in there, so I'm going, "Don't type it." It didn't work as well for me. Maybe it will for you, but it didn't for me.
No, again, I've heard that over and over and over that it's not the same to type it out. There's
No,
something about the words flowing out of your hand onto the page that speaks to the subconscious in a way that typing it on the computer cannot.
yeah.
And look at us. Wow, we're actually at overtime. Unbelievable. So before, oh, this has been fun. You're so easy to talk to. It's so great. So if people want to get a hold of you, uh, beckfun.com
Yep.
is the easiest place to reach. What are they going to find there on that site?
Yeah, they're gonna find different things that we do, different things that we make, and if you wanna have fun with your life, that's why I called it Beck Fun. I decided at my lowest point, I was gonna have fun. I was gonna have fun at work, I'm gonna love what I create, I'm gonna create fun. So it became Beck Fun instead of Beck Multimedia or Beck this blah, blah, blah. It's fun.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, it has been fun chatting with you today. And I know that our viewers have got something to take away, several things to take away, very likely. And I invite all of my viewers to join us again next week when I'll have a new guest um, who will have more for you to take away and implement in your life. So, did you have a final word that you wanted to share with our viewers, Sandra?
Yeah, whatever you're doing, wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in your life, try to find some fun in it today. Put it in consciously. You'll be glad you did.
Great advice. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us here today. Thanks for sharing. And tune in next week for another episode of Living from the Heart, available on YouTube. Subscribe to our channel or here on Facebook. Create a beautiful week. Ciao for now.